Hello, welcome to the Hoopty Cast, and today we're talking about something I know nothing about. Like, nothing. I don't even know how it works, really, honestly. The Angry Dorito, the rotary engine that Elliot has owned one.
I have owned one.
And it was a terrifying experience.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But yeah, it was a stressful experience, but I didn't actually have any problems. It was just the idea.
Fear.
Yeah, once you learn about these cars, you're like,
Yes. Well, and Rob, you never owned a rotary?
Never.
I had one that never ran. I bought it at auction, an RX-7, and it never worked, so I sold it as a project, but it was very nice. So
I was going to say, I figured you'd own a few.
I'll be fidgeting a lot because I turned 39, and for the fourth time in 6 weeks, I've spasmed about my back.
Oh, wow.
Just doing random things. So,
Sorry.
yeah.
So that's what's new with you then, huh?
The most recent one, I was golfing with April and twisted too far. Back spasm, dropped my club, fell to the ground. It was like, waited for the spasm to stop. The one before that was grabbing a key for a jet ski at the lake and reached too far for the key of the jet ski. Spasmed, fell to the ground.
These are two great first world ways to spasm your back.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You know, it's like everybody else is like, I was driving in my last railroad tie of the day.
If you're looking for pity, you're not going to get it here.
I mean,
I don't think so.
The one before that, or the first one, I was reaching for my laptop while eating breakfast and twisted the wrong way because the laptop was in front of like the bowl of cereal or whatever.
Now that's how you know you're old on that one. You just reach for something funny while watching something pops.
Yeah. That was it. I don't know,
You're 39?
Yeah.
Oh, his birthday's soon.
Wow.
Yeah, I just turned 30.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just.
yeah, it was recent.
I was going to say
Sorry.
soon.
I was like,
didn't you wish him happy birthday?
I did text him. No response.
Same.
Do you respond to everybody that says happy birthday when there's a text to 200
Every
people?
time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you for the birthday wishes.
You're
and
very
for the people
welcome.
that reached out. And all
What
that
are we
stuff.
doing for your 40th?
I don't know.
We're doing something
I don't
huge.
know.
We have
Probably
to.
back surgery.
Well, that'll be before 40. If
Yeah.
you're just reaching and hurting yourself.
I don't know. The problem is my flexibility. And
Oh, here we go.
When it was messed up,
It's for the ladies.
This is as far as I could go.
Right.
Now I can get down to here.
Okay.
Most people can touch their toes.
No, we did this
I can't touch
after the
my-
cast the other day. I really can't get you. I think you can get further than me right there.
Yeah.
That was better than you did. You were at your knees when we did this.
Yeah,
So-
I'm working on it. I'm stretching every day trying to fix it. So,
And your
because
pockets
I'm
out.
one of those guys that won't. Oh, well, at least you're wearing pants. I'm one
Yeah,
of those guys
right.
that like I feel like if I'm gonna be dying and if I was overweight and had risk of diabetes or something that I needed to make a big lifestyle change to live, I would do it. I feel like I'm not someone that would just let myself
So basically, where I'm
wither
at
away
right
and
now.
die.
For the most part, yeah, where I've landed.
So
You're fine. Rob.
Well, I'm 49, so I'm almost 50.
So I had a
50
kidney
is next
stone.
for me.
I had a kidney stone a year ago, and
Oh, I
gave
remember
up,
you talking
gave up
about this.
everything but water ever since because I'm just too scared.
Right.
I know
So-
you and I used to crush iced teas together.
Yeah.
Well,
and then no longer.
My colonoscopy's next month.
Hey, that's what we're
Can't-
talking
Well,
about. Hey guys,
can we live
Wait.
stream that?
If you want to, I'm all for it.
Welcome to this.
Whatever people
Yeah.
want to see,
Welcome to
they
the
don't want to
Hoopty
see
Cast.
that. I've already been told how that's going to be just so great.
Yeah.
So that is for me, the sign that you're really getting old when that happens.
it is when it's actually required.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Elliot, you're doing the syphilis or chlamydia treatment, whatever it is.
No, I'm all clean. I'm
yeast
just
infection?
graying out. That's
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah.
Clean bill
I
of
have I have a male yeast infection.
Is that a thing?
It is possible. Not that I know.
Wait a minute.
I just looked it up
Well, why would you look it up?
because like I heard it was a joke somewhere, and I was like, "That's not possible."
It always starts with it was a joke. Like I was just it was just joking when I wanted to find out about this.
When
You
I
know,
was peeing, it started to smell like bread.
Oh
So I was
boy.
like,
Oh boy.
I was like,
Anyway,
ah,
the
it smells like
history of the
champagne.
rotary
Well, wait,
engine.
What's new with Rob? Because I do want to say in the end of the second half of the last
Why?
podcast, we had his wife up there in the balcony.
Oh,
and it
no.
was
Let's
the
not
single
revisit
greatest
this.
I
thing.
am so sorry.
It was the greatest, and nobody on camera because like it's just gonna be me looking up there and looking at her face every time something happened. Because I dropped a bomb that made her turn around.
You did.
Tyler dropped a huge
Bigger
bomb.
one.
Rob, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that you hadn't told her that you sold her Porsche.
it's not your fault. I mean, I didn't really. I kind of explained it to her, but I didn't. In my usual way of like, hey, here's an idea. You don't drive this much. Why don't we look at something that is a little more reliable? Something you can just get in and drive and not worry about. And she's like, yeah, maybe give me some ideas. That was my key to just sell it. Now, what I didn't do was tell her I sold it, which is a mistake. And then I proceeded to not tell either one of you that I didn't tell her that I
you woke up
sold
with
it.
your testicles sliced off, didn't you?
She was okay after about 3 hours in the car.
I was
because
going to say, let's preface this. The only reason they were here, your wife and daughter, is because you were leaving straight from here to go on a car journey.
Yes.
To Eureka
Yes.
Springs.
So you're stuck with her for 4 or 5 hours.
5 hours. 5 hours stuck with her. The first
Yes.
couple hours were not great. It was really, really tough to kind of break the mood. You know, I kept trying to like, you can't drive and search for cars on Facebook as
telling
much
jokes.
as I want to. Oh yeah, nothing was landing.
Well, I've been seeing the comments, and thank you all so much for commenting and your feedback and everything else. I do need to be nicer to Rob, and I will be. I'll be nicer
well,
to
no,
you
wait
now.
a minute. That wasn't that.
I don't want to come off as an arrogant jerk like some other people in their podcast with their co-hosts.
But
so
you're being fine to me. I didn't see anything in the comments that was that
I'm
bad.
sorry.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't.
heated disagreement.
There were just
suppose.
as many that said that it looks like we hate each other, and I don't think we have nothing but amazing respect for each other, except for when it comes to me selling a car. Then it all
Yes.
goes to complete crap. But-
Absolutely.
That's fair.
and that's fair. Other than that, I mean, we've been friends for how many years now?
Many.
Too long.
Yeah, thanks.
All
right, Elliot.
He's good. He's all checked
All
off.
right, that's what's going on with me, Elliot. How about the history of the
no, I just
Wankel
also wanted
rotary?
props to us for all wearing black shirts. This is gonna be great.
Oh, yeah.
I wear the same thing every
Yeah,
day.
no,
You
you-
do.
you
You
don't
are
change.
starting to dress like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
What
Where
did-
you just like
what does your shirt say?
No,
To Jesus?
Teen Jesus. It's
Jesus.
it's from the Righteous Gemstones. It's just
Okay.
it's a middle-aged man playing a teenage Jesus.
Okay.
Teen Jesus.
Very
I
cool.
just the Simon Cowell black T-shirt thing. I guess.
Oh,
That
dude,
is
you are
very
going-
much, very British of you.
yeah, I suppose.
How about that? Well, it makes when you shoot a YouTube video over the course of several days, that helps. I always just owned the wardrobe changes.
Although I am noticing, and I probably do feel like I need to follow suit. In the thumbnails, I need to wear a bright shirt for the thumbnail because Matt Armstrong wears a bright hoodie every single time, gets millions of views every time.
That's what it
and
is.
I've noticed like Legit Streetcars has been having a lot of views lately. He's been making a lot of great content, but his thumbnails very much copying Matt Armstrong, where every episode he's wearing a different brightly colored T-shirt. And that way, that little splash of color, it just draws the eye a little bit more to the thumbnail,
See,
which
I-
makes sense.
That's a good idea. And I thought of that too when I did my Buc-ee's shirt and my Stearman Hawaiian shirt.
Except
to
for-
which the comments were immediately like, who is this douche in these Hawaiian shirts?
I liked the
Can
Hawaiian
he-
shirt era.
Like literally, can he just die? And I'm like, that's all right. That didn't work.
No, yeah. So
it'll work for you though.
Tyler needs a high-vis construction
Yes.
vest to wear his
my-
thumbnails.
the one video where my thumbnail was me in a red shirt. It's the XLRV, which was strong content, but I was wearing a bright red shirt, and the click-through rate was stronger. So
I'd love that. I would love to see the A/B test on the same video, black shirt, red shirt,
right,
just out of curiosity.
the
you know?
exact same thumbnail, just with a different blouse.
That's what I'm saying. Just
Well, I think people with bright shirts, it amplifies their personality a little bit. I mean, honestly, it does. When you see someone with a bright, loud shirt, I mean, if they're not like a craft beer guy, you usually think it's something, like these guys have personality. There's going to be something coming out.
bright
Here.
nipples.
No.
Bright nipple
If you
lamp.
cut the hole out just perfectly, I
if
think
you did
that
the
would
South Park things for
Oh,
your,
that
like,
would
the
be
guys that
beautiful.
work for the cable company.
Oh my god.
There you go.
That would be epic. All right. Get started, will you?
So this is going to be a lot of the history of the engine, but once it's developed, we kind of go all over the place talking about people who used it, and it's quite fascinating. This is something I knew. I had an idea of how they worked. I knew a little bit of it, but as always on these, I learned so much when taking a deep dive into the history of everything. So
He likes to deep
Who
dive.
wants to?
hey, at least I can
All
deep
right,
dive.
then.
You know, what I
Yeah,
mean?
well, but we
Better than-
can't deep
better
dive?
than a shallow dive is all I'm saying.
Well, who's shallow diving?
I don't know. Not
Will you
saying- I'm not
start-
naming names.
Anyway.
Okay. Anyway.
How did Wankel like to deep
Yes.
dive?
Felix Wankel.
As far as I know, So yes, our tale begins with Felix Wankel. He was born in 1902.
Whoa.
So there he is. This is old Felix Wankel, obviously,
Jeez.
with his creation. And even as a teenager, he had a dream. Basically, that he wanted to build this engine that he called half turbine, half reciprocating. And of course, back in the 20s, everyone's like, "What are you talking about?" Because neither of those engines really. Well, I mean, I guess tractors and stuff had reciprocating engines, but it was just this thing that he just got fixated on forever. He never even completed school. He had no formal engineering degree. He just went for it. In fact, I learned during my my research, he never even had a driver's license up until he died. This guy invented the rotary engine and never
Never drove a car. Wow.
So
Did it never work?
I think he must have been a savant of some sort. Obviously, they didn't document that sort of thing, but it's just one of those interesting things. He didn't like the shakiness of engines of the time, and we've all driven old cars. They're not exactly smooth.
No.
So yeah, he was self-taught, all that jazz, and he was in the 20s. He was tinkering with things, and by 1929 is actually when he filed his patent for the rotary. So I did not know it was that early.
So he's 27 years old.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Self-taught, came up with a completely revolutionary idea.
God, he looks old for 27.
And
Well, things are going okay at this point.
and at the time, like we were barely. Was there a few overhead valve engines? I mean, not, there's
Exactly.
exposed ones, but I mean,
Not-
as far as what kind of technology there was in
Exactly.
comparison, there was nothing.
Exactly. So it's very revolutionary. Of course, nobody had heard about it yet, and it's it's the 20s. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
his one quote that he said is something he likened the reciprocating piston engine as a lame horse in need of replacement. Now that is very ambitious because we know how this.
Well,
Right.
But that's how passionately he felt about this design. But anyway, things went on, and around his neck of the woods in the 1930s, stuff got kind of gross. He joined the Nazi Party because now listen,
All right.
hang on.
They all had to,
Pump
right?
the brakes.
Yep.
In all honesty, that was the deal. It's like you're a man of this age. This is
You were drafted, right? No matter what.
It was like, do you want to die or
Do you
join?
want to be killed or imprisoned, or do you want to be a Nazi?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going door to door, and
One
it's
or
like,
the-
you're with us. And you're like, Psh, guys with guns at my door, sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, even though he had no professional degree, he still had skills. He was an engineer by training. So he went on to join the Nazi Party, and he was developing, ironically, seals and rotary valves for aircraft engine, like radial engines and stuff like that. So he still worked as an engineer for the Nazis. But, that's just the way it was. So obviously, he still hasn't made his engine yet. Now he's dealing with World War II and the long form of it because he was in Germany. And in 1945, Germany fell. And unfortunately for him, the French occupation forces imprisoned him for several months and shut down where he was working. So that didn't help development of his rotary engine there. But once he got out in 1951, he got a second chance with a German company who had partnered with a carb that we never got here called NSU Motorenwerk. I don't know what NSU stands for, but they basically gave him the funding and the things for the first Wankel rotary engine, which was named the DKM-54. And
So
this- we're
he
skipping
ended up
ahead here.
in Western Germany, right? 'Cause
Basically,
there's no
yeah.
way that
Yeah.
East Germany would be making
no,
a rotary
no,
car
This
that
is
looked like
Western
that.
Germany. So this is his very first Wankel rotary engine. That's what he was standing in front of. It's not a very high res picture, and for those listening at home, it kind of looks like a lawnmower engine.
A little bit.
With a cutaway. But what's interesting about this one compared to every other rotary, and we know, the Angry Dorito, and we'll get to that. This very first one, both the housing and the rotor spun opposite of each other. So it was a very complicated motor. Very fascinating. I'd love to see a video of the cutaway operating because that just sounds really, really cool. But obviously, it only made 21 horsepower. And it was just like, it proved that the concept worked because obviously this sounds great on paper. But yeah, anyway, by 1960, they made a better stationary housing version called the KKM 250, which Jake will show you. And this looks more like your traditional rotary. This is it with its accessories and stuff.
Okay.
Now, Jake, if you want to pull up just the diagram of a rotary, just so we can get the bare legit bones out of the way.
Oh,
So
there we go.
yes, it is essentially a spinning Dorito. The interesting thing is, as it spins, it has basically instead of a piston engine, which has it has to do 4 cycles in most of them. This kind of does it all at the same time, all of the time. That's not a really great way to do it, but you basically have this rotor that's spinning around, and as it gets to this side, it's compressing. You did. Tyler's going to love this. The normal piston thing, it's your suck, squeeze, bang, blow. That's how they work. He got an eyebrow raise.
See,
on
Elliot
him
was
at least.
expecting a comment,
I know,
didn't
I
get
just-
one, and now he's completely
I know. I'm like,
tripped
but
you up.
Anyway,
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not touching
Anyway.
it.
Yes.
So the point is, it has it makes its own little combustion chambers essentially,
Yes.
and it's always moving in the same direction. So this is why they work on paper, because a piston, it gets forced down.
Please do. Please.
And then-
Full. Yes.
Both hands. Okay.
Yep.
It gets forced down, but obviously it has to come right back up. So all of this energy is undone essentially, and it's vertical force transitioned into rotating the crankshaft, which is rotational inertia. This is rotating the entire time. It never has to stop and change direction.
Do you
It
think
makes
Elliot
good sense.
demonstrates the different engines to women with
I would- I think
here's
he's excited. I mean,
here's how
I do this for boxer.
yeah.
I did
Oh,
notice
Lord.
that his excitement level went much higher when he started doing the whole hands. Like an Italian
I'm
guy.
opening my hand this wide.
You're like an Italian guy with all that, but you have with a mini boner. It's like it's pretty
Right,
great.
like, and then here, honey, here's how the rotary works.
Yeah.
Then he's,
No, I'd need her to show me how the rotor works.
God.
I'd show her
Okay.
the gif of this,
That hurt
and
my
I'd be
back.
like, "Now do that."
Did you just backspasm yourself for that?
But anyway, Okay.
Anyway, I know I'm not outlining it very well, but the point is each one of these things is sealed from itself at the triangle point of each of the rotor. These are called apex seals.
Yes.
Which are going to become a theme and an issue.
It's the one thing I do know about
Engineering explained. You guys have the same kind of gray silver fox hair,
do.
but
Yeah, if you want to really learn how they work,
Yeah.
he gets into the
he
details
probably gets
there.
into it. But
Yeah, I'm going to go on more for the
I
history.
mean, this is sort of it's very interesting. So this,
And there's nothing
it's
else
three
like it.
spark plugs, right?
Depending on the one, but yes. So
Okay.
towards I think by the time they got later on, I don't know. The initial one,
that two?
had two. You know, just for as a bare bones like understanding of how they work, it really depends on all of them.
So
Like the
there's
race cars had four. You know, it's like it just
Okay.
kind of depends.
Because is it three combustion chambers or it's only
Yes.
two when it rotates
It's
around?
three. So
Okay.
it's like it's for each one, and because the intake side's kind of opening as well as the exhaust side. I'll get into that too. That's kind of part of their inefficiency because some stuff kind of just naturally leaks out when it's spinning around.
Right.
But like I said, on paper, having something not change direction, constantly going the same direction, it starts out as rotating mass instead of converting vertical energy into rotating mass. It makes great engineering sense. Now, obviously, I'm going to go back to the history here. So what ends up happening is he invents this thing with NSU, and they unveil it at the Deutsch Museum in Munich. And basically, everyone was like, holy crap, because you see it on paper, and you're like, obviously, this is the future. So everyone wanted it, including GM, everybody. I mean, like I'll go into that later too. But yeah, Curtiss Wright, they were making airplanes. GM had them, General Motors, Toyota, Ford, everybody put money down and licensed this thing pretty much right away. So I wasn't able to find out too much about what this did for Wankel personally, but his name has retained on the motor. Like they didn't just go, oh, it's NSU's rotary. It's called the Wankel rotary thing. So props to him for maintaining his attachment to that.
For better or for worse.
Right. So, basically going into what ended up happening is the company that he worked for, NSU, ended up producing the first rotary powered car called the NSU Wankel Spider. So even got his name in the first car. This isn't it. It's okay.
This is Sedan. There
it is.
It's got some ladies in it because they do like these.
Well, they sure
do.
It's how you advertise a car. And it's just this cute little thing. And this is the very first rotary powered car, 1964. It's got a single rotor, 498 cc engine and made about 50 horsepower, but it was dinky. So, it actually got out of its own way. I mean, it wasn't like super fast, but
well, the Beatles weren't making much then. All those light cars were underpowered.
And it was fun when it debuted at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1963. Everyone was like, "There's a cute car that doesn't have pistons. I mean, what's not to love?" And because of that whole thing that I was talking about with the reciprocating motion, because it's always going in the same direction, it's way smoother. So cars, even in the 60s, sat there idling, it's kind of bouncing around. Nobody had ever experienced a car that didn't do that. So that was a huge selling point, was the rotary's smoothness. Because even as you rev it, it doesn't get more vibraty. It sounds funny, kind of buzzy, but they're very, very smooth. So as far as this went, people were interested, but it wasn't a sales phenomenon. It was more of a public beta test.
Were they cheap?
I actually don't have a pricing on this one, but I don't think it was I think it was fairly cheap.
It would have to be.
NSU was a fairly they weren't a luxury car company.
Right.
Let's just say. But even on this very first one, the reliability was So, they didn't sell too many, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, in 1967, they launched the car that Jay kept showing, the RO80. Now, this one did sell pretty well, and this was a twin rotor car. This is obviously a much more for the masses car. Instead of a two-seat Spider, it's a four-door sedan. And it had a lot of advancements, not just the rotary engine. I thought this was really cool. It had a standard four-wheel disc brakes, which was actually pretty special in 67. It made about 115 horsepower, which is definitely fine for a sedan in the 60s. I mean, if you think about, four bangers and definitely even slant sixes here in the States, that's just kind of how much they were making. But the fascinating thing about this thing is it had a semi-automatic transmission in 67. So you still had to shift everything, but it's kind of like an F1 but instead of paddles, you still run through an H pattern.
So is there Jake's vomiting?
Yeah, it doesn't
But
approve.
is there a robot controlling the clutch?
You press a button on the shifter. I wasn't able to find a video. It's either you pull something, but basically you actuate the clutch on the shifter and shift the gear, and then let it go.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool.
It's actually pretty cool.
I would love to drive. I would love to experience that. I think
No
it'd be
way
really
that was reliable, right?
That was not. It was the rotary that was the problem in that car.
That was good.
Yeah, and also because it was the H pattern. You were doing it yourself, versus
Well, they had something like that in Volkswagen Beetles, the
Yeah.
weird automatics. They
and
had
the
that was
Cord,
similar.
and the Tucker for that sake. Not that anybody got to drive those, but when you're in charge of how fast the gear changes and how long you hold the clutch in, if you're manually like actuating it, I think you could probably garner a little bit more life out of it.
Porsche Sportmatic, I think, is what they had.
Sportomatic.
Oh yeah,
Sportomatic,
they had a
Sportomatic.
semi-automatic. Yeah, because didn't they make that in
They were
Beetles?
912s.
Yeah.
Saab Sonnet.
The
yes.
Sonnet had that
Yeah,
too.
Jake mentioned that. So,
Yes.
yes.
Very nice.
Saab
Yeah,
Sonnet.
Jake
Good pick.
opted to not have a mic today. Sorry, everybody. Anyway, so the reliability was shaky, but everyone did like that it could rev up to 7,000 RPM. So
Get that.
this, again, with the ladies.
The women love it. That looks very like Renault Peugeot-ish.
It does. But I mean, remember, it's a German car from,
Which is interesting
the
that it would
60s,
kind of style off of that.
I think one of these would be really cool to import.
today
If you could
they-
find
today
one,
those would look
it'd be
great.
really cool. Obviously, the cars were what they called disastrously fragile.
Oof.
So early apex seals, which again are the critical tips on the rotor that seal the combustion chambers, they wore out at an alarming rate, some before 10,000 miles. Now, cars didn't last long back then, but they should have lasted
Right.
longer than that.
People
So-
probably didn't drive as much or as far, maybe.
Right. And,
Then-
just one of those things where it's like, so these guys were overrun. The NSU dealerships and the mechanics were just overrun with blown engines. This wasn't like, oh, they're a little worn out. It was like, these
Gone.
are inoperable within 10, 20, 30,000 miles. And it became the joke of the auto industry locally as the only car that came with a free engine rebuild every 12,000 miles. Because, you're like, what?
That's
It kinda
terrifying.
sucks.
Hell, the Yugo made it 30,000.
Hey.
Until a timing belt crapped.
Now, another thing people were finding out, not only were these horrendously unreliable, but the fuel economy was really bad. Even back then, which, I mean, this wasn't as bad, but it was 15 miles to the gallon estimated in the 60s. Now, a lot of stuff was getting that kind of mileage back then, but the point is, it's like, it's this little dinky motor, and everyone was kind of, on paper, it looks like it should be super efficient.
But you got to be revving that thing out, right? That's what's killing the gas mileage. Wouldn't it have to rev out just to
Yes
go
and
anywhere?
no. It's inherent in the design, and I know rotary fans out there will do this, and this comes later too with emissions issues. Part of the deal, because it's always rotating, is a lot of times in between blasts there is unburnt air and fuel that is just getting pushed out of the exhaust, like straight away. So the noxious fumes are very high with early non-catalytic converter rotaries, because I mean, it's just part of the deal. It's a little bit. It's not all of it. But there's every rotation, there's a little bit of unused fuel and a little bit of unused air getting pushed out of the exhaust port. Whereas in a sealed piston design, it's not going back up to push it back out until all of that's burned. There's also a little bit of inherent uneven burning because of the shape of the triochealness of the rotor. I know. See, I get assigned with the nerdy.
Is triochealness a word?
I don't know.
There's just imagine
checking to
a
see.
triangle with a little cavity in the middle. The point is, it doesn't create the most even burn in the world.
Okay.
So burn efficiency helps with fuel efficiency.
I mean, I'm learning a lot because I knew, like you did. I mean, I know apex seals.
I'm
that,
trying not to be like, an 8th grade learning algebra
go.
and just looking off in the
I
ceiling.
know.
And like,
I'm trying
yeah.
to get past this part so we can
Yes.
get to the fun.
I mean, I got it off the picture when we showed the actual diagram of it. I mean,
Right.
that made a little bit of sense, and now I'm way out in left field.
well, trust
so
me, like I
hopefully,
said,
it'll bring
I
me
would
back.
be doing the rotary fans a disservice if I didn't dive into like
That is
this
true.
history before we get into like, all
Okay.
right, let's go. So anyway, NSU guys were like, okay, obviously they heard the memo. Like, we got to figure out what's going on with the apex seal, which was the main thing.
And Wankel's got to be like, oh, damn it.
Well, yeah, Wankel's like, this works on paper, and then they start mass producing it, and it's like, So yes, you can see. I mean, it's metal on metal. So they tried to improve the design by introducing apex seals made out of titanium carbide, which sounded very fancy.
Jeez.
And those lasted longer, but they were a little bit later towards the end of the production of that car, the RO80.
Okay, so dumb question from the gallery here. Where is the apex seal on this picture?
So
the seals,
in
where
this
are
thing,
they?
it's at any
So
point
it's-
where the rotor actually contacts the chamber.
Okay.
So at every
That-
exact like vertex.
That helps. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So that's the part that is actually sealing it in. It's dragging along.
The tips of the triangle.
Yes, it's dragging along the chamber.
Perfect. Thank you.
So yeah, they made them a little bit more reliable, but they already had the reputation. And this is the first one. I didn't know this. I knew this was an RX-7 feature, but they did add a little buzzer to warn drivers when they were revving the engine too high because you couldn't tell. Because this was, again, these engines are so smooth and they just kind of go, and you don't ever really, they don't hit like a piston engine, but you can kind of hear when it's, all right, I should probably shift. These never really sound like it's time. Just keep going. So they added a little buzzer, which was nice. This helped a lot of the rotor wear problems, but it was a little too late. That obviously had a bunch of problems. And this design essentially killed the company NSU, which is why we've never heard of it.
That would explain it.
But in 1969, Audi pretty much absorbed them. They bought them and just were like, this is ours now. And you'd think, well, now Audi's going to start making some rotary stuff.
That's interesting because that car kind of looked Audi-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Audi took the
I guess
design.
really Audi too. Yeah.
I think they did.
That's the
I don't have anything on that, but I definitely think they liked the styling. The styling and the technology was never the problem. It was the motor. So
Did Audi make the Fox or did VW make the Fox? Who made the Fox?
The VW Fox?
but answer your question.
Well, I guess it was the VW that made that.
Right.
I thought Audi made a Fox, but maybe they didn't. I remember a four-door Audi that was like that, but I don't remember what the actual...
Right. So anyway, that was, going on. But while NSU was figuring this stuff out, Japan got word of all of this. So, there was a company known as Toyo Kagoyo.
Did Wankel go visit Japan or something like
No,
that? Or?
this was the design was such a big deal that even Japan was like, we'll license this thing and
The Axis
give it a
powers
whirl.
got together again to create
much.
some more mayhem.
Look at that logo.
Well, actually, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned. So this is Mazda before they were Mazda, and it's interesting. I didn't. They were
Toyo, what did you call
Toyo
it?
Kagoyo.
Toyo Kagoyo.
That's what it is, Toyo Kagoyo.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a space on my thing, but yeah, that's their thing. So basically, the CEO at the time, and I'm going to butcher this one, Sunji Matsuda.
Oof.
Yeah,
It wasn't too bad.
I know. Hey, it's not bad. Doing my best with
Well,
what
the
I got here.
Matsudas are going to comment on you.
Anyway, he was working for his small Hiroshima-based car company to stand out on a global stage. So it has not been a fun time.
This is Hiroshima's going to get their revenge.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. I was like, oh yikes, they had. Oof. So anyway, in 1961, which was about the same time when their Spider came out, Mazda licensed the Wankel engine. Like I said,
Well, okay.
so they were one of the first people to do so, and the Matsuda pretty much bet everything on it. Everybody at Mazda, which I'm not going to call them Toyo Kagoyo anymore, it's Mazda from here on out. Not everybody was really thrilled at first when he showed this to the engineers. They apparently begged him not to do it and that this would be a waste of resources. But the guy who's not an engineer was like, nope, we're doing this, make it happen. And he hired a man who kind of became, even though he's not the father of the Wankel, the guy who fixed it, a man named Kenichi Yamamoto. So
like Admiral Yamamoto, the
it's not Admiral
Japanese.
Hirohito. Yeah. So there's young Yamamoto there. And obviously, when he gets this engine, he's like, these run hot, they drink oil, and the apex seals fail. What do you want me to do with this? Good question. I was like, why are we betting the farm on this? But they did. They built hundreds of test engines. And of course, like I said, they're just licensing it and trying to build it themselves. What these guys were getting were chatter marks on the actual blocks. So the apex seals were like scoring the blocks. And they were like, all right, this sucks. But this guy hired essentially a team of 47 engineers, which is a weird number, to just fix it. And fix it they did. They basically found out that the apex seals were resonating at certain RPMs and causing the destructive marks. So they altered materials and they tested a bunch of stuff. They even tested, a whole bunch of materials. And this is a rumor, but I like to think it's true. They tested cow bones and horse bones as apex seals, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's worth a shot.
So they were
if you're testing everything, you're
at this point, you got 47 engineers.
That's what I'm saying. It was like one of them was like, sir, I guess I'm going to try cow bones today.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Throw it all.
Well, I just wonder why piston rings can hold together for, hundreds of thousands of miles and do a lot of friction up against, cylinder walls. Is it because the Wankel's like throwing it around?
Well, maybe he was talking about the resonation of it. It was resonating.
That and like different parts of the chamber are hot at different times, which I guess is the same as a piston. I really don't know the inherent problem with why they don't work, but it just They just don't.
Maybe it's just getting fuel washed all the time, because that can happen where it ruins
It is.
cylinder walls too. And like if a car's running too rich and it soaks it. But
Because a regular motor uses, oil to lubricate its parts, the rotaries, which I was kind of going to get into later, but they run kind of like a 2-cycle. They inject oil into every cycle to keep the apex seals lubricated.
that makes a lot of sense.
So that's why they burn oil. It's not because they're running badly. It's because it's part of the way that the engine runs.
The design, yeah.
So yeah, frying piston rings, you're doing that with
Right.
apex seals.
Yeah.
But so they inject
Just
oil
trading
to
one
help,
for the other.
But it's you can't have an oiling system for the apex seals when they are going across the anyway.
Right.
So these 47 guys, they dubbed themselves the 47 Ronin. Obviously, they're Japanese and they were big on the samurai thing. Toiled, and they got it going. Basically, they improved the cooling passages to address overheating. They redesigned seal lubrication to cut oil burning, and they refined the carburation to smooth out the idle, because fueling these things is very funny. You got to time it way differently than you would, traditional engine.
Right.
Anyway, so by 1965, Mazda was like, all right, we're pretty good. We could probably develop a car of our own to put this in. Not to mention they'd spent a bunch of money to doing it. So they basically announced the Cosmo. So there's their first rotary that goes in a car that's actually really good looking and sought out.
Oh, I love the Cosmo.
By collectors now is the Cosmo Sport 110S, and it's just a cool car.
At that. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So this was a heck of a debut for.
And these have to be valuable. I mean, because they're just nowhere.
I mean, they're not like the Toyota 2000 GT.
They're a 6-figure car, but I
they're
don't remember
expensive.
exactly.
I don't.
what
Yeah,
it-
exactly. I haven't been to an auction that had one.
I've never physically seen one.
But
Right.
yeah, so
Me neither.
it's very cool. And like I said, this was an auto show showpiece. It's kind of a new manufacturer. They're not very big, and they come out with this thing, and it has a revolutionary motor. So it's crazy. It's a 2-rotor engine, 110 horsepower, but
the
again,
split taillights
doesn't
are
weigh much. Yeah, it's just
neat.
a great looking car. And they actually beat the NSU's twin rotor, the Wankel's own company, to market, but they kind of held it down because they were like, we don't want to overshadow the guys who helped us give us this motor. But yeah, and again, very cool car, futuristic. They obviously named it the Cosmo to invoke the space age era, which all the U.S. manufacturers were doing. And it was hand built too, so that's actually another interesting thing. But another thing that makes them valuable is they only made 1,176 units from 1967 to 72, so they were not cranking these out.
Wow. And how many are in the States? I mean,
Oh no, they all have
God.
to be imported. I don't think they were ever sold here.
No,
I'm not sure.
I'll say how many were imported over
But
here.
yeah,
Probably
I don't know.
barely any.
Interestingly, though, because they had done all this work to the rotary, they entered the car, a race version of it in something I didn't even know they had. It's called the Marathon de la Route, an 84-hour endurance race at the Nürburgring, which was the best place to show that your engine's reliable.
Yeah, you fixed your problems.
So they entered 2 of them. One of them dropped out of the race, not because of its engine, but because of a rear end failure.
Okay.
So rotary still proven. The other one finished 4th overall. So
Right,
I'd say
it finished.
this is a W for Mazda
Absolutely.
as far as they're concerned. And because of this, which I know like 1,000 units doesn't sound like a success, Mazda went all in. They were like, this is the future. This worked for us. Let's make everything a rotary. And this is what I didn't know because we didn't get any of these here. Like I knew that they made some stuff, and I'm not going to go into detail about all these, but this is how much they went in. They went, all right, we're going to make an economy car called the Familia rotary. And they made a Familia rotary. And then they made something called, it's this, just normal Japanese car. They made something called the Luce or Lucy. I'm not going to go into details about all these. And then they made a Capella rotary, which kind of looked like
And none
the
of these
other
I've ever
thing.
seen, which is kind
a
of cool.
Savannah, which is called the RX3, but that last one's called the RX2, and then the RX3, which is the Savannah. They made a Grand Familia, which you can imagine is just a larger sedan. And they did make, which I think Jake will love, the Mazda rotary pickup, which I think is really cool.
That's wicked.
So now that,
That's the only one we got here.
yeah, so that is cool. And I do love how this one has like tow mirrors. Like,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a baby
it's like a
Ram.
Datsun,
Yeah.
thing. But I think that thing's pretty cool. It's a 1.3 liter 13B, 7,000 RPM thing. It was really cool. And what they had done is made themselves the largest producer of rotary engines in the world, mostly because nobody else was doing it.
Right. The only, basically.
But But yeah, so basically they claimed that by the end of 1973, these things could last over 100,000 kilometers, which is not that far.
Right.
What is
but
that?
way further than what they used to last.
Right.
So this was good. Here's the problem. So by 1973, one of Tyler's favorite eras, the oil crisis comes into play, and well, everything sucks. And now you can't have these inefficient little buzzy things that are literally spraying unspent gas out of them. People are like, no, we don't want this. Like worldwide, it was a problem. Again, every time this is going to come up, it hurt every manufacturer. It did. But it hurt rotary development probably the most because they were just inherently inefficient. So the problem is Mazda had dumped so much money into it that it kind of screwed the company. They could no longer sell a lot of their lineup. And this is essentially what led them to be needing to be acquired by Ford, like in the late 70s, which is a lot earlier than I thought it happened. I thought that happened like way later. But anyway, that's the kind of thing on that. I'll go into the other thing. All the other manufacturers, which I'm going to go into now, canceled all of their rotary developments. Everybody had a rotary development. Everyone stopped basically in 1973.
No, because Mercedes had the C111.
Right, and I do have that in here
concept car.
because I have pictures of the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember I brought that in there. So I do want to talk about when I said everybody spent money on this. They did. So I already talked about the NSU stuff. Citroen had one, which was kind of cool. It's called the Commodore, or that was their concept car. But that thing looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, that these guys had one. It had basically the bi-rotor is what it ended up being. But it was a commercial disaster. It was 70% more expensive than the conventional engine version of that car. They only sold 847 units between, I think, let's see here. Like it basically over years. It was really, really bad. And they tried to, this is when you screwed up. They tried to buy back as many of them as they could and crush them so that there wouldn't be any around.
Good Lord.
that is
trying to hide your mistake.
GM did that with the EV1.
that is
Uh-huh.
a corporate, we don't even want people to have these in the future. Like this cannot,
Wow.
we cannot
Make
have
them
this.
not exist.
So I was very fascinated with that. And then they had the Mercedes C111. Tyler, you can talk a little bit more about this. They use this as a test bed for a lot of stuff, but they made their own rotary as
Yes.
well.
I never got to drive the rotary version of it. I only
No,
drove.
this is the one you drove.
I drove the V8 they stuffed in there, but they had the 617 Mercedes diesel that you would have had in a 300D in the 80s. They used this as a development for it. So all kinds of engines were in the C111 that never made production. They just figured it just wasn't high quality enough for Mercedes as far as the fiberglass body and the way everything was. Like there's no way to do this as well to make it worthy of the Mercedes name. So it just turned into a kind of a design exercise and test car that they made, I don't know, a few dozen of them.
Yeah, and I think they still have them all. And I remember because this was during Car Trek in Monterey, because the Mercedes Classic Center let you drive this and all that
Right.
stuff.
If I had gone last year, they would have let me drive the rotary version because they actually got
brought
their
it back?
rotary one
Wow.
running and
Yeah,
they
'cause
brought
that's-
it.
That's what I thought. They maintain them. And I remember we were asking the guy, what's his name?
Michael.
Because we were talking to him and it was just kind of one of those spitball things, which, I didn't know much about this car. I mean, I'd seen it, but I was like, I didn't really know. And it was kind of like somebody was like, hey, man, what's one of these worth? And I think you were there for that. He's like, pretty much priceless. We've turned down offers for 29 million or something like that. It was like, oh my God. So these are very,
Because
very special cars.
they've never sold one. They never cut it loose because it was just they just like it's
Oh,
just
look,
not.
there they are. There's Tyler and Michael right
They
there.
don't want people to own it and then say, oh, this thing like the windshield's glued in and kind of plexi and all that
Right.
stuff. So it just wasn't.
Yeah, it was home built.
It wasn't quality enough for them.
Yeah.
So,
But it
it's
is a cool
interesting.
design
Yeah.
exercise, and it is really cool. You got to drive one, even if it wasn't the rotary one.
That's- yeah.
I mean, it's just
To
such
drive
a
something like that.
special, cool car.
Yes.
Now here's where I love it because GM spent some coin to get this thing. There's just a press photo of this. GM, this is crazy. They spent, I don't know, I don't have record of what the other guys spent to license it. They spent $50 million to, I don't know if it was license it or in development of the rotary, but that was in the early 70s. That was a lot of money.
Jeez.
GM bet big on the rotary because they had plans for a rotary Vega and they were supplying the engines for the AMC Pacer. So they were like, this is perfect. It's a little engine, weighs nothing. We can put this in our economy cars. It makes good sense on paper. They bought them. They basically, for those two cars, they were like, no. And they had to go put a conventional engine in the Pacer. But it's funny, I didn't know this. The AMG Pacer was actually designed with the rotary in mind, which is why it's so wide, because they were thinking it was going to be this wider lower motor that was put in there. But instead they, ended up putting a regular ass motor in it, and it was not that exciting. But they did make a couple of mid-engine Corvettes with rotary engines, which I thought was really cool. So they started out with the XP882. I think I did send Jake a picture of this. So yeah, here
that's
it is.
cool.
It is really cool. And they made a mid-engine rotary powered Corvette. And this thing was insane. They made a 4-rotor at the time, which nobody had done yet, not even, Mazda or anything like that. So this thing was actually able to make some horsepower. It had gull-wing doors. It was neat. The 4-rotor reportedly had 420 horsepower, which still wasn't a ton back then. It was totally smooth. Reportedly could go, I think, 100 and, almost 160 miles an hour. But of course, they developed this in 72, 73. So right as the fuel crisis hit, they're like, this will never work. Then they kind of made a 2-rotor concept called the XP897 is the one. And it was just a smaller one with a smaller motor. They were like, we could make 2 Corvettes with 2 motors and different power levels, name your rotor. It was actually, interestingly, on a 914 chassis. Huh. And then Pininfarina designed the body. Like I said, I don't know why these things aren't like talked about more. It's kind of a weird car. It's like a Corvette rotary on a Porsche chassis with an Italian body. Totally weird.
Okie dokie.
Anyway,
yeah, no idea. I had no idea.
So that happened. They eventually put a conventional V8 into that first one I showed you, and they debuted it as the Aerovet, and they were like, we've already spent the money. Let's just keep parading this thing around. And the other one, the red one that I showed you, GM sold that one, so they no longer maintain that, and just a guy bought it, and he put a 13B in it, and it still runs and drives. So
that's cool.
That's pretty cool. Then this is obviously not going to be that relatable to us, but interestingly, the Soviets also did not license their rotary.
Of course not.
Shockingly.
Why not?
There's a lot of hearsay on this of whether they reverse engineered one. There's things that the KGB got in on this. Basically, it doesn't matter. If the Russians were being Russians, they figured out roughly how the rotary worked, and they decided, let's put them in our Lada, because the Lada is like kind of boring and it already doesn't have any power. If we put a rotary in it, by comparison, it's going to be a monster. So I don't have a lot of pictures of this because, like I said, we don't have this, but it was actually way more powerful than the engine they had. And like I said, they built a couple of hundred of them for the KGB, and, other stuff. And it was like, whatever. And then they made a 2-rotor version and it made a little bit more power, but it's just one of those things where,
well, probably from a production standpoint, it's a little easier to make, I would imagine. You think as far as the size, they're a little more compact and
things. Less parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And reportedly the KGB loved how quiet they were because, it's not, I'm sure the regular Lada is probably a loud little banger.
Right.
But
a loud little banger.
I'm just staying away from these tonight. I'm being good.
And here's the thing that Jake would like if he had a microphone, but they also, and I think this is a good application for these, motorcycles. So they made a few rotary motorcycles.
And that's where I feel like it would work.
Yeah. High revving, lightweight, right down. So they made the Suzuki RE5, which is really cool. I didn't really, like I said, these are all, I'm not like in the motorcycle world that much, but here it is. And you can see, it does look
so cool.
Different. So this was in like 74 through 76. They didn't make that many of them, but it made 62 horsepower. And especially back then, that's a lot for a bike. This thing had like a cool little futuristic gauge pod with like a cover. But yeah, it even was cited for poor fuel economy, even on a bike, which is pretty impressive. But that's just the way they are. Another company that I wasn't familiar with, but think it looks cool, they made the Hercules W2000, and this one beat the Suzuki, but I think it has this really cool turbine intake type thing.
That thing looks,
I think that thing looks awesome.
Menacing.
But yeah, so this thing made nothing. It made like 27 horsepower.
Oh, well.
So like I said, it was like everyone was trying their weight at it. It's like everyone's like, again, on paper, this made so much sense.
Yeah, it's cool to see all these different makes throwing their hat in the ring on this because they all obviously saw something with this that they thought, okay, this is the future. They were still clinging to it even though it was so unreliable in every application.
But nobody really knew because it was like everybody saw it on paper. They're like, I'll license it, and they get to trying it. And then it's like,
but the writing was kind of on the wall in the early ones. They broke so early,
but we didn't know these guys didn't get
it. Wasn't all out yet.
Yeah.
So Winkle's kind of you want to license this engine? Here you
cash
go.
In his checks, buying his island.
I totally get it. Like I said, if I had only seen the drawings and that it did work, I'd be like, that makes a lot of sense. If we do American things, we just make it bigger, it'll make more power. Everything makes
Is
sense.
he still alive at this? Like
No.
in 1960 something or what?
He died in 1988.
Okay.
So he's seeing this.
Okay.
Well, and GM $50 million, and they got none of that back.
None of it.
That is just. I mean, we
They just
could
burned 50
just
mil.
literally just lit it on fire.
Yeah, the last one, which it is really cool. Norton, which is a motorcycle company we all know, they built a rotary bike too. So this is their race bike, which makes a lot of sense for racing because it's just higher RPMs and it can stay there all day. They made a couple of street versions of this bike as well. I think the street bike's called the F1. It looks pretty much like this with slightly
Like a
less
John
aggressive.
Player special. Is that what that JPS is?
Yeah.
It looks like a John Player special bike, which I mean was Lotus. I mean, he was famous with Lotus.
No, this was a cool deal. And Norton's a serious company. Yeah, I also have in here that there's a couple of like home, like people who build like kit planes would use rotaries too, which I think is a horrible idea.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
So let's go to the one time where it was a success, and we've kind of touched on it. Now, Mazda made all these other cars, and then it was like, oh, crap, we got to stop making everything because the fuel crisis hit. Well, they decided again, let's give it one more whirl. People don't like them, and this is good logic. People don't like them in their family cars. They just don't work. They need to be, by nature, they need to be revved up, and family cars kind of putt around, which doesn't help these engines. They flood, they foul out, whatever else. Let's just make the only rotary car we make a sports car and sell it as that. So they obviously in 1978 they came out with the RX-7, which we all know that's a household name as car enthusiasts.
Of course.
Timeless
design.
Yeah, very cool. You know, like I said, it was pretty much an instant hit. You know, we all know about it. It's a rear-wheel drive sports car. You know, pop-up headlights. Its rotary made 105 horsepower, which doesn't seem like a lot, but again, we're going with that lightweight thing. And like I said, these were a massive success. And I didn't know this at one point. They were selling 4,000 RX-7s per month in the U.S. alone.
Wow.
So I knew they were a success, but I didn't know. But we took to them.
Well, they were affordable, if I remember. They came out with a very reasonable price point.
Right. So yeah, so basically they showed a thing that the reliability of a rotary could be a thing in the hands of enthusiasts. You can sell it to enthusiasts a little bit better.
This is the generation that I had sitting on my lot for like 4 months where the grass kind of grew up around it. And I bought it at the auction. It was running, but not running well. I was like, okay, well, maybe it can be saved. Like maybe you just change the plugs and it'll come back. And it got delivered and it never ran again. Somehow it was still running at the auction. And then I never got it to run, unfortunately.
Did you get any bites on it at all? Because I'm curious as to what the buyer was for that.
It was $1,000 is what I paid for it. And then I was hoping that it would get fixed. And then I feel like when I didn't, I just sold it to the first person that offered what I paid for it. I think I just listed it and it was gone instantly.
Now, I'd like to hear.
It was clean. It was like 60,000 miles.
Oh,
really
really?
clean. Yeah.
There's something about it, and I wish I'd looked more into it. It's not about the fixes for them. It's just about the history. There's something about it. There's a guy or guys that go around the country buying these because there's a lot of them. They're just like, oh, it hasn't run in years and blah blah blah. And they come in and they pour transmission fluid like into the intake and they let it sit for a day, and they'll come back, and something about that magic makes these fire back up. And I'd love to hear what that is, but there's a lot of people out there. I'm sure it might be more than that, but that's what I've heard is like these guys go, oh sure, I'll buy it.
We talking about an urban legend here?
No, it
actually
guys
works.
go around buying non-running RX-7s, pour some transmission fluid in it, let it sit and do whatever it's doing, and they start
Come to
them.
life.
And it's like there's some magic there, and I'd love for the rotary guys out there to enlighten
absolutely.
me of what that is. I mean, they also had flooding issues and stuff like that, which I'll go into with my ownership. But anyway, the point is this was a huge hit. So the other ones were like, oh, this is a neat idea, but we obviously saw none of them here. This is the U.S.'s first real taste, you know, because
Well,
none of those other
240
things.
or was it 280Z in 79? Where were we at with that?
yeah.
Probably at the 280 at that point. And that was
that
a
was
huge
the
hit.
yeah, that was the Hall and Oates version.
And this is clearly
Yeah.
going after that.
Really, for sure, yeah. But so again, when I said it was a huge hit, by the end of 1985, which was the first this body style, the FB, they had sold 474,000 worldwide, which is a ton. It's obviously the biggest rotary thing ever. But this is what's interesting: 377,000 of those were in the U.S. alone. So the U.S. bought an overwhelming majority of these. So
Crazy. I had
so
no
we
idea.
loved
Japan
these.
they were not sold on them.
Yeah. So obviously they kept making them. So the next year in 1986, they came out with the FC, and this obviously improved on all of the designs. So for the first time in a production car, you could get a turbo rotary.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is really when people are like, oh, these are fun toss around autocross type cars, where these are like, okay, the turbo's made up for a lot of the low end lack of power that rotaries have.
Have clean ones of these got their day yet? Have they had their day yet? Because I mean, I feel like
Quite,
if
no.
they haven't, they're going to. Look at that.
haven't
Look
really
at
seen
no, they're
themselves.
really cool. I love the way these look. There's some really cool modded ones of these. I've always enjoyed the way they looked. But it's still one of those cars where you have to be a rotary guy. You can't go, I think I'll get one of these. You're going to be in over your head immediately. But yeah, this is what you could get it in a convertible for the first time. I know Jake probably hates that.
Yeah, he's cringing at it.
But
But
was
he's
cool.
awake, so
it was
we're
cool
happy.
at the time. So yeah, these did well. For some reason, they were actually compared to the 944, which I guess would have been the closest
Yeah.
comparison.
Oh, what else is out there? 86.
So 0 to 60 in the low 6-second range, which I know is not good, but it's
Actually,
the
back then,
late
that-
80s. It's fine.
Low 6 is not bad.
Yeah, but if we go to the one that is more in our wheelhouse, it is really the cover car. It's the Need for Speed car, and all this other stuff. The one that was actually going after Porsche and Corvette. In 1992, they came out the FD. So this is the RX-7. That when you say RX-7, this is what people think of.
Of course.
But they didn't really sell these in the U.S., right?
They did.
But they're why are they so rare in the U.S.?
Because they didn't sell well in the U.S. because it was
were
very expensive.
expensive, yeah.
And it was like, am I going to buy a Porsche, a Corvette, or a Supra, or this? And this had a weird engine that had been proven over time to be, it was still pre-internet, but I think it's one of those things where you're like, you buy a Corvette and you're like, oh, that sounds great. And you drive a Porsche and you're like, that sounds great. And you drive this buzzy thing and you're like,
So it seems like I see more Japanese specs, like Freddie had his.
Right.
Yeah, but
so they did way better in Japan. Like I said, I think they were just too expensive.
Okay.
But it was a much better car. It's the best one of all of them.
Oh, for sure. And this was that one, the 3000 GT. You had its
Oh, yeah,
heyday, and the
3000
Supra.
GT. Yeah, so
all
you
of
had,
these were.
you had the Supra, the 3000 GT, the Dodge Stealth, which I know is the same thing, Corvette, and pretty much Porsche. You're just generally not going to go with this one. I know that there's going to be people in the comments who are like, I'd rather have an RX-7 over any of those any day.
I honestly would.
well,
I would be
Mazda
one of them.
had the Miata too. That was just a game changer. I feel like that
and
was.
you go to the
yeah.
dealership and you could buy one of those for 10 grand.
Yeah.
Or this for 40.
Yeah. And it was just a high sticker.
Yeah. And again, even though they made good power and everything like that, it was still a power, it's a numbers game, almost like the modern Supra. So, there's the engine. It just was one of those things. This is the first era, and I remember this when my dad was buying cars. It's one of those things where a guy would look at that and go, I'll never be able to work on that. It's just like, look at that. That's a mystery. This helped because it had sequential turbos like the Supra. So it had a little one to help down low and then a bigger one that came online and higher RPM. So these really did perform well. Car and driver raved about it. Everybody liked the car. It's just, it had so much good competition that was undeniable.
It was tough. You were scratching a big check for something like that. You wanted it to be something you were familiar with.
But the thing is, you never saw these. I didn't.
No,
I thought they weren't
no.
sold in the U.S. and that's why they weren't for a while. If there was some reason why, but then the RX-8 is a huge success, right? Because it sells a lot more.
Correct.
You saw them everywhere.
Yes. And I think a lot of that was marketing. The internet was there. And everything else. Like I said, there's a lot of different reasons why this didn't sell well, but it's the price competition.
Okay.
And I
Just
could be wrong.
killed
I would
it.
think the RX-8 was cheaper, wasn't it?
The RX-7 was
Yeah.
comparatively much cheaper, but the performance was also much lower.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's happening here, and this is true of all the cars during this time, is remember, this is an inherently inefficient car that is wasting gas and doing all this stuff, has to deal with catalytic converters and figuring out this, all this. It's basically, they were really fighting uphill against ever-changing emission standards. And that's kind of what ended up happening with the RX-8. So, they came out with that and they're, well, actually, I need to talk about the
Well, okay, before the
racing thing
RX-8,
first.
I would say, the one thing that hasn't been brought up yet that I think you were just going to get into, the 787B, which is the best rotary Mazda ever made.
Yes, it's so cool.
That's a poster car. We all know what a 787B is.
Right.
I mean, that is,
You will when you see it. You'll go, oh, yeah.
No, you'll know it when you see it.
Well,
Jake, put it up.
like the Vin Diesel in the opening scene of Fast and Furious, was he driving that?
You
right?
probably saw one of these
This
running
is
around
first
Laguna.
Fast and the Furious. Yeah, they had a Veilside one of these. No, but the 787B was not it was a race car. It went to Le Mans, and it won Le Mans.
Oh,
in 91.
So it won.
I did not
it was
know
the
this.
first time and won. So this is it. Blowing flames.
Oh, and
so
these
cool.
things sound so good.
Oh, it's nuts. I really do wish we had audio of it.
I
'cause
believe
it's nuts.
I want to say one of these was at Monterey Car Week in Laguna Seca running around.
There's
the
only
track.
like two.
Yeah, I think it was one of the years where they featured Either they featured Mazda, I can't remember, but I remember that I don't know if it actually raced on the track, but it was definitely in the paddock.
No, we heard it because I think I was with you and Neil, and you could hear it like howling around.
Oh, absolutely, from way out of the track.
Yeah, because you were like, I couldn't see it because of the different, they have the banners and stuff in different places. But yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, that's my plug for Monterey Car Week too. Is just to go for Laguna Seca to watch all these things running around the track. So first, and that's a big thank you to you, Tyler, because you're the one that we went together on that first trip.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're not gonna believe what you're gonna see here. And I'm sitting there going, no, like
and we're missing 2 years in a row now.
I know, and I'm heartbroken about that.
I went for 10 years straight.
Can
now
we
I
all
missed 2
just
in a row.
agree that we're gonna
I
go
went
next
for a
year?
lot of years straight, not 10, but a lot of years straight, and I've missed 2.
Yeah, can we agree that we're gonna go next year? I mean,
You
you
should do
can't.
it. Gotta figure it out.
We
We
can
need to
commit
go.
it.
2 years
We
is too
can
much.
we can live cast from there
There you go.
on what's it, Ocean Boulevard.
But I mean, if you're going to
And
do
we'll
it,
just
you
talk
have to
about
go.
stuff that's going by.
You have to go to Laguna Seca, and you have to just to go on Thursday, Friday, Saturday to watch all of these different classes of legendary cars run. It is the best experience and the feeling you get. And I am heartbroken that this year I don't get to go because my idol, Bill Elliott, which you could redneck me all you want, they're running all the old IROC cars. When they did the IROC series where they had everybody from Formula One and Mario Andretti and all these guys were running Camaros and Firebirds.
Yeah.
They've got all those cars out there and they got all those guys running those cars out there. And I could not, my wife saw me just get depressed one night in bed. She's like, what's wrong with you? And I was just sad. And she's like, what? And I was like, Bill Elliott's going to be at Monterey for Car Week and we're not going. And I was just heartbroken because it's so damn cool.
I know, and that's when you decided to sell her Porsche. You're like, I'm going to get her.
Fucking right, I did. And I'll show you.
She had the tickets booked and everything. Surprised she canceled it all.
The
the
damn
moment you did
Taylor
that.
Swift concert cost me all that money. I can't. I need more of my baseball.
Yeah. We're going to say, I was like, top me up too, Rob. So,
Baseball bourbon.
Yeah.
we need to talk about that because I've sorry
People do ask about this. So this is Cooperstown Distilleries. This is Doubleday, Abner Doubleday, who people used to think he was the one that invented baseball, but that's a big urban legend. It's not true. This is just a really neat little specialty baseball bottle. It's a collector's one. You put it on your shelf or whatever. It's like $45. It's not expensive.
That's not
and
crazy
we're
compared to the other
enjoying
stuff
it.
you've
Yeah, it's a
provided.
great little, it's not easy to pour when you got this microphone. We're going to make it work.
I like that I talked
But-
about this before thing. I like that his name is Abner. I feel like that's a strong name.
we got this in a golf club.
Hey.
We got it in a football or in a basketball. They got all kinds of stuff.
so do they have a Nesmith?
I don't know. Oh, yeah.
what the
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's a great little bottle. It's really fun, and it's pretty much sold everywhere. You can get it everywhere. The
That was
flies.
a new one. Nope, you had a spider on you.
What?
I didn't want to tell you while you're pouring.
No, thank you.
that was a new one.
Will you get Adrian
It's a
out
little
here?
brown recluse. Yeah.
You're fine.
Oh,
Dude,
good.
it's just a little one.
Adrian, Bug Ninja, please now.
Okay, so anyway, this car is really cool. The specs are nuts. 4 rotors. Rob, what was it?
700 horsepower in qualifying, or no, 700 on the racetrack, 900 in qualifying.
Nuts.
Just insane, and a 10,000 RPM redline with this, which is just we're talking about the sound. And a lot of people probably, I think these are in Forza and maybe Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are, and I mean they're ridiculous there too. But they're just, I think I actually had a model RC car of this. That was literally to that spec.
Talk about a front lip getting broken.
Oh,
RC
immediately.
car.
Immediately. You break all those road cars.
So I don't know the reason. And again, commenters can help me with this. So they won Le Mans overall. It was like, okay, this is crazy. It's got a weird motor. It won overall. Like, that's nuts. And so Le Mans was like, no more of these.
So actually, no. So they were banned. They were banned, but it wasn't the banning. It was already in the works before they won. So
okay.
the
'cause
ban
it just
was
says after this, that they
it was
rules were
not.
changed.
So
it was
actually,
like right after.
if I
this.
remember right, they were already like a lot of growls and complaints coming from, and they had seen that it was going to be an unfair advantage. So they were already in the process of banning it before it even won.
I love this though. It's griping and growling from all the manufacturers who abandoned their own rotary causes.
No,
And they're
absolutely.
getting mad at the one company who
they
was
got
like,
their-
we'll stick with it.
Well, they got their ass kicked by that thing.
It's just so funny. Every one of the companies that griped had a rotary at some point.
Oh.
And also, it's interesting. I read about this, because I talk about the road cars are so inefficient. One of the things that helped it win is because the relatively small size and the nature of it. This was getting better gas mileage at the race, so it had fewer fuel stops than the other cars. And over the span of 24 hours, fewer fuel stops makes a big advantage. So you have this little motor that's not burning very much in the same size gas tank. Anyway, point is that was a cool car. Never happened again.
Yeah, that was the end of that. One
so-
and done.
One of the things I didn't know about because I don't follow them that much closer. So we stopped getting the last RX-7, I think in 95 here. It was like 92, 95, very short. They were like, these aren't selling, let's stop. They made them in Japan until 2002. So that, more to your credit, that's why there's a lot more of the right-hand drive ones. And of course, now with the import laws, we're seeing a lot of the right-hand drive ones.
Well, and
come
that
over.
was Freddie's hentai version in
Right,
Car
that
Trek.
was-
It
Yep.
was just unbelievable, and never wanted to restart hot or anything. Yeah, it was.
They're
it was,
finicky.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting into with this. So then a few years go by, and Mazda comes back in 2003 as a 2004 model with the RX-8. Now, this was a fun car. You know, this was the heyday of marketing. They had cool commercials. You know, they had a new rotary engine that they dubbed the Renesis. It's a 1.3 liter twin rotor, no turbos this time because they just couldn't make it work. You know, by this point, by '04, emissions were nuts. I mean, we're lucky we even saw this car, but this was a marketing success. They sold it in automatic. They had the cool doors that open. It looked like it's giving you a hug. You know, it had like the half rear doors, like a
debatable.
GM
I'm
truck.
still on the fence on that.
And what made you want this?
Yeah, I'm
Elliot?
curious.
So at the time, I mean, I don't remember what year I got mine, but it was one of those. I always thought they were good looking. There's me with the
Wow.
sun behind me, so it's not a great picture.
See,
of me.
and back in the mid 2000s,
Yeah.
shorts went lower.
They sure
Like
did.
shorts went to your knees, and that made a lot more sense. And now the style is for shorts to be further up, which I don't like because I
Isn't
have
that
very
for
long
women?
legs. And
So
obviously, our audience didn't like because Elliot wears
Clearly
his
did
shorts,
not.
Guys.
like the balls are out.
Okay, when I'm standing,
tailor-
you
you
probably had a couple
my shorts are
stranglers
just
hanging.
above the knee, but it's when I sit, you're obviously right up, and then this camera is just right down the chute.
But I love like cargo shorts were
I
great,
love-
and
God,
the
I
length
love
was
those.
perfect. I don't like having to wear
And cargo shorts are gone now. They're out now. Aren't
I
they?
never wear
Unfortunately.
shorts. I never because the length of shorts. Like I'm definitely won't wear them when I'm doing a show or like YouTube or anything.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
I had a pair on like a week ago, and I walk into my office, and my boss is like, "Do me a favor." I'm like, "What's up?" He goes, "Don't ever wear those again," and not in like a rude way, but like a "What is wrong with you?"
I
way.
can't wait for them to come back because I really loved cargo
What
shorts.
is janky
that's
Jake?
Jake's in the
Thanks,
short
Jake.
shorts here.
That's
you
me-
imagine
that's me-
Elliot
that's
with a
me and-
suit?
That's me and the boys on the
Can
weekend.
you imagine you wearing a pair of those at this?
I suppose. Yeah. I mean,
80s
there's an
basketball, those
amazing
guys.
photo of my dad in short shorts like that with his Trans Am or whatever. But I just don't have the legs for
So
it.
were you?
I don't either,
No,
Tyler.
well, nor do
no,
none of
you
us
certainly
do.
don't.
I've got
I
hairy
know.
but
legs.
I have
You've-
less viewers than you, so I get to hear it less.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, the cargo shorts, my last story with them is I was still rocking them, I think, past meeting Kenzie, which is my ex-wife. And one day I came home, she threw them all away. And I was like,
Wait, literally just threw without telling you?
She's like, we're done with these. And I'm like, the utility.
April has a retired drawer for me. Like
That's
it wasn't
nice.
mean to throw them away, but I'm like, oh, where's that shirt going? And I look at the retired drawer. Oh,
But that means they're still around.
So is the retire? It's like, is she so nice? Is that her nice way of being like, don't ever wear this again?
yeah, she don't want me to wear it anymore.
That's
That's
so
awesome.
much kinder.
That is
to
way
like,
better.
To like, this is an off limits drawer.
And my wife is just, she's nice about it, but she will like, I'll walk out of the bathroom and go, I get ready to go. And she'll just kind of be like, I mean, are you sure you want to wear that shirt? Like she's nice about it. And I'm just like, God, it's like,
Imagine if we said that to women. You're like,
oh, I did.
oh, that's an outfit.
Oh, I
They'd be like,
did. Yeah. And I know, and it did not get my response when she said it to me was, is it that bad? And she's like, it just doesn't flatter you. And I said, okay, I'll go change. And
Oh,
I
I
did
thought
the
you
same
said that
thing.
to her.
You idiots.
No, that's what she said to me.
I was going to say, I was like, oh my God.
okay.
But that was also, but then I went ahead and did the same thing to her, thinking that she'd be fine with it. When she came out with the shirt, and I was like, and she's like, what? And immediately, a different tone. So I was just like, ooh, okay. And at that point, you can't make up something fast enough. So you're like, and I'm like, well, it's just that color. Whew. Color. Safe. Didn't matter. Nope. Done already. We didn't even go to eat. I remember it was just pretty much, we're done
great.
here. I shut down. Brooklyn and I had the option to go eat. Well, we couldn't because if I left her at home,
That's bad news.
yeah, you can't do that. So none of us ate until like dinner. Anyways, go ahead.
Anyway, so this is mine. I have a couple more pictures that I've included for Jake, but
And we didn't talk about what was the allure of this.
Oh,
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean,
the- that's what
I
led to
really
it.
did like the styling, and I was like, my thought was, I know enough about cars, I can learn about one of these and deal with it, and that I did.
Did you get it new?
I didn't get it new, but it had hardly a miles.
And what
to
did you
see.
switch? From? What'd you go from?
This you're gonna love this. I had a quadra steer Denali.
Oh,
I know, and now
Even I love those.
even now, I know.
Wow.
I know.
You're gonna get lambasted
was it your
for
dad's
this.
hand me down?
No, I got it on my own. I was like, yeah, I love these, and I was like, man, I'm killed. And the reason why I'm stupid, I know, guys.
Well,
I still always had my Corvette, but this was my college year, so it was all I was driving. And I learned very quickly after a summer, I was the only friend who had a truck. And when you're that age,
I
everyone's
know.
moving apartments every freaking other month. And it was like I had one friend destroy my bed cover thing, and I was like, okay, fine. I was helping people move nonstop, and I was like, I don't care what it is. this truck's got to go. I loved it. I did drive it. I had it for a while. It wasn't like I had it for, I loved it. But I was like, okay. And then the local, whatever, Mawkins had one of these. And I was like, I've always liked the way they looked.
You traded straight up?
I bet he did.
No, I think I did at the time because the quadristeers weren't worth anything.
What were these?
Listen, guys.
Even then, there was both used.
Oh, is that what you
know.
had?
Yes, mine was
A quadristeer one of
quadristeer and
those?
it worked.
Did it have the lights on top?
Yeah, they all have to because they're so wide.
So
It had-
why did?
I would love to have this truck back. I loved it very, very much.
Yeah, but I mean, what did you see in the RX-8 that you go? I'm going to get rid of my. Besides
what I was
people wanting
thinking-
your truck.
Well, no. So I was just annoyed with helping moving all the time. And it was like, I'm really I did the thing which I disagree with everybody around here because we live in the Midwest. People drive trucks to just haul themselves. I'm like, I really am just kind of driving to campus and back. Like, it's just stupid.
and you saw the new sporty red shiny thing.
No, I knew about them and I was like, this will work. And I was like, okay. The point is, it was like one of those, it was a curiosity. It was available. It was in the correct color stick, everything. I was like, I'm really done with the truck. This deal at the time.
And the truck wasn't getting girls,
fine.
and this could get girls.
I traded
Possibly.
a 2004 Wrangler Rubicon with axles, locking axles and all that stuff, Infinity sound system, 10,000 miles, and this was in 9 or 10, for E500 wagon.
Yeah, but the E500 wagon's
But
a
at the
better
time,
driving
the-
car.
the-
but those
time
are
that
cool
made
now.
sense.
I don't know if
Yeah.
they were cool then.
That's what I'm saying. Is
Like, I'm trying to think of a trade that was really stupid that I did back
this is
then.
probably my top.
This was a
is
really
tough.
bad
Yeah,
trade.
that's on par with my M5 for the Flex.
Yeah,
Which
and
the
now
M5 for the Flex was worse.
that's the worst one for
That's
you.
the
I'm trying to
worst.
think of something where like the car Wizard's famous for this. Like I got him a Jaguar one time at auction for $600 or whatever, and he spent thousands.
Those
on
are
parts.
cool now. That green was it an E63 that you had the wagon?
Yeah, yeah,
That
it was similar. It was the same body style. But he bought this Jag for me, and then it didn't count as labor. It spent thousands in parts, made it a beautiful, serviceable, amazing car. And he traded it for a Mark Twain boat with like a crappy 18-foot outboard thing from the 60s
Wizard did this?
that he used once, and the motor had
Was this
problems, which Jake knows all
Isn't
about.
that what got him into boating?
Yeah,
though?
was this pre-Wizard yacht? Like
Yeah, pre-Wizard yacht.
Because I
And
was like, yeah, that
he traded it for a boat that he basically junked.
Yachting Wizard was my favorite Wizard.
that the yachting era?
The
Yes.
yachting era of Wizard was my
That was my
favorite
favorite
Wizard
era,
era
too.
by far. He'd
Yeah.
send me pictures of him yachting with the boat on the lake, and he was the happiest.
Well,
what a
leaned into
happy time.
I mean, McKay, my dumbest trade has to be the Eldorad, right?
You didn't know.
The
might be
Eldorad for
talking
the
about
Escalade.
that.
We're going to be talking about that
might be
next
talking
week.
about that next week.
Yeah.
But anyway, now you guys have this in the bank against me that I traded a quadristeer Denali for frickin' RX-8.
That's amazing. I did not know
But
that. What
remember,
color was the
it was
Denali?
black.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
were
most
all
of them were.
Yeah, they were. So there's my RX-8.
I need to get a
There it
quad
is,
steer
broken.
Denali.
No, this is just my first trip
It's
home
broken.
to Wichita, and I hadn't had it up on a lift yet. So I was like, I just kind of want to see. Like, I'm curious.
Is that the
Like,
same building you have now?
Yeah, it's facing the other direction. My
Gotcha.
studio is
Yeah, right
behind
there.
it. And again, I was in college, so my studio didn't exist yet. But I thought it was a good looking car.
What'd your dad think?
Again thought it was a good looking car, and I think once I started to tell him more about my experiences, I was like, because I read it, and at this time, they'd been out for a few years, so forums existed, and there was a known knowledge base. And like I said, I was jumping into rotary ownership with the RX-8.
So you had all this money that you made from Rivet Computers and being in the commercials and all
rolling
that
the
stuff.
commercials, yeah, he
And
was
so
the
you were
guy.
able to buy that Denali and get this RX-8.
No,
And your parents
I
helped
did-
a little bit, or
They helped a little bit, but also like at the time, like I had been working at Rivet for years and had no expenses
see,
at
because
the time.
my dad,
So I thought that's what. I also want to tell you that's a life lesson I learned. I thought I would always have this much disposable income because I'm like, this is great. What's everybody bitching about when they get older? You just have money.
Right.
You
Yeah.
get a paycheck and then
I
it
did-
stays at that level until you spend it.
I did not have that.
And then I learned, I was like, oh, and then rent started happening, and then utilities started happening, and then
Yeah.
girlfriends, and then it was like,
Kids,
oh, you don't have any
and
money anymore.
it all goes away.
Dad knew I'd be impulsive and switching cars all the time. So when he got me cars, like the few that he
Yeah.
bought for me, they were titled in his name, and I was just a driver on it. So like he was the gatekeeper on the
Oh,
titles.
yeah,
where
he
I
wasn't gonna
couldn't-
let you-
I
Because
couldn't-
you could have traded in on
Oh,
a whim.
Oh,
yeah,
you
I
would have
would've-
done it, right?
Yeah, I was.
Because
yeah,
I mean, you were probably like us back then. You
Yeah.
were probably looking at every car.
Exactly.
Always.
And that's what it is. It was
Yeah.
one of those, I was curious. I knew about them. I liked the way they looked. I heard that they could be a thing, but I was like, I like cars and I'm willing to learn about this one. Let me
and
give it a whirl.
How many of those were in town when you got it? I imagine not,
Not very
many.
many.
So that's the other thing. I mean,
yeah.
that's the allure of stuff that I buy.
And like I said, these were really cool. I think even for the time, it's another, not quite as much as the XLR, but the styling of this still holds up. It was a little kind of wild for the time period, but right now still kind of holds
Did
up.
you sleep with more women in the Denali or the RX-8?
Good question.
Oh,
I'd wager to say the Denali because I was more single. I think I started dating my long-term college girlfriend by the time I had this one.
Did you sleep with somebody in the RX-8?
No. Due to it has rear bucket seats and front bucket. It would have been a logistical nightmare.
All right.
But how many in the Denali?
At least one.
Okay.
Okay.
1-0.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
Score 1 for the Denali.
Mom, who listens to this,
Not
all
one
these
for your.
episodes front to back.
Oh yeah, every single
What does
one.
she think about us talking about how horrible your relationships are?
In her minute, she has it like on while she's outside watering plants.
Oh, okay.
So she hears it. But every once in a while, she'll, because remember we released these a little bit later. She'll be like, "Elliot, I can't believe you said that." And I'm like, "Oh God, what?"
Well, and my mother.
I have to think back like 3 weeks
What
of
did you
whatever
say?
it is, and I'm like, "What was it?"
And my mother listens to this as well. She also, I have to send her the link, but like she doesn't, she can't hear. So she watches it and she doesn't understand much because who's Hoopy? And I'm
That's
like,
true.
that's
That's a good
Tyler,
question.
Mom. It's Tyler.
Who is this hoopy guy you
It's
keep
okay.
talking to?
A kid today recognized me, or it was yesterday, and he said, "Oh, I used to watch your videos all the time."
Oh,
Used
no,
to.
used to. You're
He's
already.
He's
he
moved
said
on.
it so enthusiastically. And I was
I
like, oh, what,
used
did you
to.
get mature and like grow out of my shtick or something, my humor? And he realized what he had said and then was like
No,
frozen in
I
silence.
still watch totally.
Yeah, they didn't even try and save it.
He
He's
tries
just like,
to. He tries to say, "He's like, yeah, you just got that white Testarossa, didn't you?" And you're like, "No, that's a long time."
That's like that. My cousin who reached out to me. She's like, "Do you know Tyler Hoover?" I said, "Of course I do." Really? Yeah. She's like, "Can you? Do you think he could get a hold of Tanner Brongart for me?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm not
I do
gonna
get
ask
that. I've gotten a few of those reach out because everyone assumes who doesn't live here that Wichita's such it's a 16-person town as
Yeah,
far as I'm
literally.
concerned. So they're like, "Do you know Tyler Hoover?" And it's like I just happen to, but you're assuming because I live in Wichita that I do. And that's usually what it is. And they'll say is like, "I figured because you guys lived in the same town that you know each other." I'm like, "No, it's not the way it works."
400 and something thousand people
But
here.
there's so many people that just go, "Well, you live in Kansas, therefore you must know so and so," and you're like,
That's an East Coast, West Coast mentality, and it's understandable.
Like if we went through your track record and how many degrees of separation ends up with a woman that Elliot slept with in town,
there's
not,
some on my Facebook friends.
between you and yeah.
We've all got some. Ones I didn't even know.
Oh, me and my friends are Eskimo Bros a few times over.
That's good, bros.
Anyway,
Still trying to figure out who gave you that Roman
Anyway.
but
helmet.
the logistics of the RX-8
I liked it. It still had a really cool
did not
interior.
work for it.
No.
I mean, even the what is it?
handbrake, yeah.
had a little brush guard for it, in case you hit your hand on something. I don't know. It had a cool design.
I did like the seats.
The stick, the shifter itself was a little rotary, like it was a triangle shape, but like the oblong triangle, like
Angry.
a rotary. Very cool.
You're doing
Yeah.
that again.
You had to lose your butt on this thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was still worth enough at the time. I traded it. This was not a bad trade. I traded it for an older Roush Mustang.
You had a
Okay,
Roush
so
Mustang?
what year?
Yeah, 02.
Oh, two.
Or
So-
stage what?
Stage 2.
That's okay.
Straight
It's better
up?
than stage 1.
Straight up.
Oh, that's okay.
so
All right.
Manual?
that was fine. Yes. Yeah.
Good call. Good call.
But so anyway, it was one of those things, and back to the subject of I thought I could learn about it, and I did learn about it, and it was like, all right, treat it like a normal car, and the surface level tips are put some oil in it at every fuel fill up.
What?
Redline it once a
Put
day.
oil in the gas or oil
Put
in the
oil
engine?
in the oil
Okay.
fill
In the
you
engine.
have to fill it with oil every.
you top it off. It's
Why?
not out because of remember part of the
Right, I know, but is it
lubricating the seals.
that
it
much?
injects that much oil into the engine.
But is that by manufacturer?
it is in there that they say they
Seems like
recommend
a-
you check it. And so what ended up happening is I have this big gallon Ziploc bag with a funnel, a rag, and a quart of oil that just was constantly in the trunk of this thing.
It just seems like a lot of work to own
well,
it.
it's not that bad. It's almost not much worse than doing
Every
my Prius
fill
right
up?
now. It's recommended to check. Realistically, you only needed to top it off every fill up or every other fill up. But this is what ended up killing these cars. I mean, I have a lot more info on it, but the reason these were such a success compared to the RX-7 that preceded it, which everybody, of course, now goes, oh, it's so cool, blah, blah, blah. First of all, that the outgoing FD made 252 horsepower, which I didn't know how close these were. So this is now naturally aspirated, 238 horsepower. So they got pretty close.
But heavier.
Heavier, safer, but like I said, the marketing was better. They had these in manual, and what the downfall of these cars is that, and this is around the time when you were working in car dealerships, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was everyone saw the commercials. It's a good-looking car. It's pretty cheap for what it is. Rear wheel drive, of course, Top Gear had a great segment on it. There's all these things going for it before they started to get some miles on them. And this is not being sexist, but a lot of girls thought they were cute. I knew a girl in high school who had one that was an automatic, And they made different versions of these. They had like so the sticks both had twin oil coolers, and the red line was a little higher and everything like that. They lowered the red line and had one less oil cooler on the automatics. And like I said, the thing was, it was dealership education, selling them new, a lot like F1 Ferraris and stuff like that. They didn't tell people, like an F1 Ferrari, you're supposed to be like, pretend it's a stick shift, drive it like it's a stick shift, and it will be fine. They didn't do that. They told everybody, it's an automatic, have fun. They burned up clutches. This is the same deal. Nobody said, remember, check the oil. That's part of the way it works. And you need to redline it at least once every other day, or else carbon is going to build up like you wouldn't believe. And that all this stuff. They just said, here you go. It's just like every other car. And it's not. You have to think about things on these cars. So it is, and I almost challenge you to find one, Rob, a running automatic one of these. They didn't work. Everybody just puttered around at 1,300, maybe 3,000 RPM all the time, completely fouled up the engine and never worked.
Oh, challenge accepted. You give me a challenge to find something like that, I'll do it.
It's got to be running.
God, I tried to challenge
You'll
you
find them,
earlier to a $1,000 car challenge. Nobody wants to do
I
it.
want to do it, but we got to grow the channel a little bit more.
No, we don't. It's $1,000. Come on.
Then you have to film it. Then you have to edit it.
Yeah.
And then
Fine,
all this
I'll
stuff,
film it and edit it myself. I don't care. I can pick a better $1,000 car than both of you. I guarantee
I know,
it.
you spend
If
so
it's
much
one
easy.
thing
You
I'm
just
good
do
at.
it.
If it's I'm not good at much. We're all aware of this, okay? Everyone's aware of this. But one thing I am good at, I will find a $1,000 car.
Have you ever played with iMovie or Final Cut before?
Brooklyn can edit it. My daughter can edit it. She does those.
She does. She edits cat
She's
TikToks.
really good at it.
We're probably
She's really
really
good
we're
at it.
halfway there, guys.
But nobody wants to challenge me. $1,000.
I'm ready to do it.
I will find a better $1,000 car. We'll do whatever you want to do with it. I would love to take it to the dealership for inspection. Nobody wants to do
Someday,
this.
Rob.
Someday. Let's do
anyway,
this.
what I wanted to talk about. So it's not that I seriously never had a single problem with mine, but it was, it's about getting it up to temperature. This thing's very funny about temperature. You can't cut them off cold, especially RX-8s for some reason. Beyond all rotaries have this problem, but if you cut them off cold because of the way they're fueled and everything like that, they flood immediately. Like, you have to get it up to temperature before cutting it off. And so that was something I had in my mind all the time, because it was everybody being like, I had to get my RX-8 towed so many times within the first month of ownership because they just didn't know. And, it's crazy to think of a modern car that you're like, also don't cut it off cold and you need to top off oil. It's too much for this era.
Well, for just the masses that
It's
aren't
too
going to
much.
know to do that.
And then, like I said, nobody got educated on that. They just go, here you go. It's like I said, it's a girl buying between a Mitsubishi Eclipse and this. And they're not educated any differently. They go, yep. Here's your
the
keys.
Mitsubishi-
Congratulations on your new car. And of course, you just drive it like a normal car. And a normal person isn't going to go, should I check my brand new car's oil every other fuel fill up? It's brand new. Why would it burn oil? There was no education there. So while these did sell well, it still had all the old problems. I showed Jake this. I think he might have nodded off. No, he's fiddling with something.
He's
Never mind.
chatting with somebody.
He's going.
The other thing that I had, so this was when I was going.
Hey, don't his phone. No,
His phone's dead.
Anyway, this was the other thing I experienced with it. In addition to just being stressed out about it, because I remember getting annoyed with my roommate.
I'm done. Jake's just. I'm sorry.
Jake's had a week.
Jake has had a week. He didn't want a mic. He didn't want anything. Jake just wants a nap, and the face he's making is this face of like, will you three just shut the already
over it. You've
and
explained
just
them.
let me go home and sleep.
Yeah, so I did put that funny license plate tag on it. That's where that thing
Oh,
originated.
my other car is a Corvette.
Because it doesn't make any sense. You're like, then why the heck are you driving this?
I like the EZU.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not worried about showing my license plate. There's so many people that won't show Facebook
I hate
Marketplace
that.
with this.
I
don't-
hate that.
I don't give a shit. Look, that was my license plate back in the day. 934 EZU. Look me up.
So the RX-8 was it.
As far as rotaries
We're
went,
done for the U.S. Are you anywhere else? No.
No, they stopped. So basically, and then it was again an emissions thing. They moved on. Even at the time, they were still getting bad MPGs, and this was what they were rated at. This is not what I experienced. 16 city, 22 highway. No, I think it was 14 city, 15 highway.
Yeah.
I took a picture of Jake where I just took, because I was like, the first time I drove it from Columbia, Missouri back to Wichita, and I'm going 85 at 4,500 RPMs.
Oh
and I'm
my
just like,
God.
and it's in sixth. And I'm just like, I know it's a high revving motor, but it's a long drive, and this thing's going.
Yeah, you'd just be asking for
and
it
I'm
to
just sitting there going, it just seems awful
Where's
high.
my Denali?
Yeah, I am like, it seems
Man.
awful high. I did miss the Denali at like 1,100
Yeah,
RPMs.
literally just loping along.
comfortable.
Yeah.
As you know, we're Denali men, I know, but it was one of those. I'm like, now I have this buzzy little thing, and
How long did you keep it?
maybe maybe a year.
No, not long.
Okay.
So anyway, it just, I didn't have any problems, but I just kept reading and worrying and stressing about the car all the time. So I was like, I gotta just have something else.
So the RX died when? Like 2000?
RX died in 2012.
12? Okay.
Yeah. So tightening emission standards, no immediate next gen rotary. They were like, all right, we're kind of done. But, Mazda made over 2 million rotary engines at that time, in the lifespan of its time. So that's a lot, considering.
But haven't since, but there's been talks, right?
There have been talks. So here's what happened. I'm going to show you, Jake, pull up the Vision concept, the RX Vision concept. So this got everybody really stoked back in 2015. Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Yeah.
You could probably Google a better one than this. But
Mercedes AMG-esque.
yeah, it's an AMG GT-ish looking thing. There's a lot of design cues from RXs over the time. And, maybe you guys remember this better than me. It's almost like Mazda brought this out and was like, our next rotary-powered sports car, what do you guys think? And everyone was like, great. I mean, technology can only have gotten better, right? And just nothing became of it.
Because you could do it with like electric turbos.
Yeah, now
And
you
that,
could.
that would
Yeah.
that would probably be
It would help
a
with the
practical
power.
way to do it.
And again, that 238 power. Also, remember driving the car. Mine,
That's better.
It was my first rotary that I'd ever driven. They really, really are gutless below like 5,000
Yeah,
RPMs.
nothing.
It takes forever. It's like nothing, and it's still not much. So it's not like a turbo lag where you're like, here it comes. It's like,
It seems like there's no reason because everyone's pushing for electric sports cars and
right.
things. Like it would have to be a hybrid rotary or something like that.
So
I'd have to have
that's where we're
crazy
getting. So then
horsepower.
they did officially bring them back. Unfortunately, we don't get them here. But Mazda does currently produce a rotary motor, and it's in a production car. It's called the Mazda MX-30E Sky Active R-EV, which is too long of a name. It looks like our CX-30, kind of. But this is basically like a Volt. So it's an electric car that uses a single rotor rotary engine as a range extender. So it has kind of an abysmal electric only range, 50 miles.
Good Lord.
And then it kicks on. But this is actually a good application for these. So a lot of the problems with rotaries were how people drove them. If you basically aren't driving the shit out of them all the time, they foul out, they clog up, there's all this stuff. So they're just not happy at puttering around, which is what you do when you're driving a car. But this, because it's a range extender and it's being a generator, when it's time for it to come on, it powers up and just immediately goes to peak, optimal RPM and stays there. So it's actually a really good in that form because it's small, it's compact. Like I showed it here, it leaves a lot more room for battery and stuff like that. It's a really cool.
So it's just powering the electric
Exactly.
motors.
There's nothing about this rotary that's connected to the wheels at all. There's nothing. It's a generator only.
Okay.
So this is it. I think if you look at it, hope for the rotary. If you're just a design fan, still exists. I don't know why we don't get it in the U.S. But it does exist, and it has, like I said, it's somehow out of the single rotor making 73 horsepower. They've got thicker apex seals, and they just said special coating to extend life, which I know we've all heard that
they
before.
need it.
So we'll see how that goes. And like I said, it cuts off when it's not needed. And I mean, it's really cool. But that's about it. The only other thing we have as far as Mazda, because they were the only ones who ever really, really did anything with it. There's a new company in the USA called Liquid Piston, which is a interesting name. And they're innovating a new rotary design. And I wish this was more thing. It's funny, you can still tell they're the investing phase because this is a PowerPoint thing. It's reasons to invest number 10. Their thing is, the design works if you flip stuff. Instead of having the triangle on the outside and the peanut on the outside and the triangle on the inside, they went triangle housing peanut rotor. And they say this makes it better because you're not working with these so
where's the apex seals on a peanut?
they're still at the finer points, but basically it's hold on, I've got it in here somewhere. They just say it solves the sealing issues and helps improve efficiency.
Really see how.
It does solves their
And it
Ponzi
says
scheme accusation.
this is a cash grab.
They do claim it's 30% more efficient than a Wankel, which is not hard to do.
No.
But as far as it being the same basic idea of something always rotating in the same direction, that's still promising. And the other thing about this is it can run on diesel or like JP8 fuel.
I mean, I
or
can just say
whatever.
it, but if it hasn't worked by now, I don't know that that's going to work.
It's jet fuel. So there was also a thing I forgot to mention. Mazda did experiment with a hydrogen rotary, which sounds nuts.
Wow, that's
Which I didn't include a picture of that. But they did make a few RX-8s that were powered by hydrogen, still rotary, but obviously, as we're seeing with the Toyota Mirai, they was ever only rolled out in California with hydrogen stations,
Yeah.
and even then they're like never in service. So it just unfortunately didn't work. But that
Too
solved
early.
its
Too early for
emissions
its time.
problems. So anyway, as far as the rotary goes, it still sort of lives on, but not in the way that what Mr. Wankel wanted it to. Maybe. I guess he wanted it to live as an engine. He didn't really care about the cars that much.
Clearly not.
It basically, everyone liked it. It's always a good idea on paper. Everyone tried to make one. Mazda was the only one who really did. And then they finally narrowed it down to one really good car. And then even then, it just took too much specialization to keep them on the road. And
Good for them sticking
And-
around, though, because we
and
wouldn't have the
internal
RX-7 if they
combustion.
didn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, as much as a lame horse that the internal combustion was,
The
compared
piston
according to
engine,
Felix,
yeah.
we're
She
still with
is.
this. And you know what? Because they didn't sell well, it's just like everything else. Now they're sought
They're-
after. I mean, now these are
people want
50 grand.
Not the RX-8 though. There's
Not the RX-8. The RX-8s are still worthless.
Still
One
5 grand.
RX-7 is extremely desirable. The Mazda Cosmo extremely desirable, but otherwise,
Everything else bad.
If you
Not
can
really.
find a running RX-7 or RX-8, I think they're still sub 10 grand.
No, easily. Yeah.
Way
6 to
under.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, even then it doesn't start, it hasn't ran for X time.
Yeah.
But these are now becoming cars and bids and bring a trailer regulars. And obviously the other thing, it's not an original swap, but very popular LS swap platform.
Yes.
Because it is a good platform. And yeah, so people kind of, it's the C5 of Mazdas.
well, nice work, Elliot.
Well, thank you.
Now I'm going to go look for GMC Sierra Quadra steers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I mean, 'cause you do.
And remind me of how good it was, and then be like, I can't believe you sold one of these.
Yeah, that would be wonderful to toot around in for sure.
They're great.
And Rob next week is gonna do a real wonderful one where he's gonna rub all my mistakes in my face and talk about the cars that I never should have sold.
I am going to
Which
do
is
that. For
there's a lot.
There's a lot. I got a lot to go through. You've bought a lot of cars. You've sold a lot of cars. They're going to be for reasons, judging from ones that I personally thought you should have held on to ones that you probably took a bath on, to ones that I really believe you.
Well, there's
miss.
plenty because I've been doing this for almost 10 years. There's a lot of appreciation in the time since I've sold them on some of the cars where it was like, oh crap. But
there's some ones that I know you want to
We're
have
looking
back.
into another Rob and Tyler bicker at each other episode.
I'm trying to be nice to Rob now. But
Yeah,
yes,
but-
very nice work, Elliot.
Thank you.
I learned a lot.
Me too.
Sorry if it was
And-
boring, everybody.
No,
It was
I thought it was great.
It was info.
It was not boring.
the
If I was
history.
fidgeting and not as attentive or whatever, it's just because my back hurts.
Yeah,
I'm
your
just
back's
like,
spasms.
I know, it's because you're in your senior years now. And
So
yes,
it sucks. It really sucks, and I hate it. But you all want to help out? There's a Patreon to join below. We really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment encouraging Elliot, telling him thanks for wearing pants and researching the rotary engine. And we'll catch you next time with Rob.